She was only 23. She had already lived through war. When Russian bombs rained down on Ukraine, she made a choice: to leave her homeland, to escape destruction, to survive. She came to America believing it was safe, believing it was a place where dreams could grow, believing it was a place where hard work meant a future. Her name was Iryna Zarutska, and she believed she had outrun death. But on the night of August 22nd, 2024, death caught her again. Iryna lived quietly in Charlotte, North Carolina. She worked in a pizzeria. She rented a small place. She studied to become a veterinary assistant. She cared for animals. She worked late hours. She paid her dues. She wasn't in America to make trouble. She wasn't here to be in headlines. She was here for the promise so many immigrants chase, a chance at peace. That night, after finishing her shift, she slipped on her light jacket over her uniform. She tucked her phone into her hand, her lifeline to the world she left behind and the one she was building here. At 9:50 p.m., she boarded Charlotte's Lynx Blue Line. The train car was half full. She found a seat, put on her headphones, and scrolled through her phone. It was just another night in her new life. For her, the journey was routine, but for the man standing a few feet away, it was something else entirely. His name was Decarlos Brown Jr., and he was no stranger to law enforcement. Since 2011, he had been arrested at least 14 times. Armed robbery, larceny, assault on a government official, trespassing, drugs. His record wasn't just long, it was escalating. Months before, he had called 911, ranting about man-made material inside his body controlling him. He was flagged again and again as unstable, violent, and dangerous. But every time, the system let him slip back onto the streets. Every release was another roll of the dice, another chance for disaster. And on August 22nd, 2024, the dice came up deadly. Passengers on the Blue Line didn't see it. They didn't notice the folding knife slip from his pocket. They didn't notice the way he edged closer to the young woman in the seat. To them, it was just another ride. To Iryna, it was her last. At 9:50 p.m., it happened. Brown lunged forward. The blade cut across Iryna's throat in a flash. He struck again, stabbing her in the chest. And again. Passengers froze. Some gasped, some screamed, but in seconds it was over. Her body collapsed onto the train floor. Blood spread across the cold steel, pooling beneath her. And Brown, he showed no remorse. He wiped his bloody hands on his hoodie, and as the train slowed at the next stop, he simply walked off. Witnesses later said he moved casually, as if he were just another commuter stepping off after a long day. 6 minutes later, police arrived, but by then, it was too late. Iryna was gone. Her life, her hopes, her dreams, ended in less than half a minute. Decarlos Brown should have never been on that train. He should have never been free. Since 2011, he had been arrested at least 14 times. Armed robbery, assault on a government official, drug charges. Again and again, the courts saw his face. Again and again, they read his record. And again, they released him. Judges signed the papers. Prosecutors argued half-heartedly. Each time, Brown walked out the door more emboldened than before. This wasn't an accident. It was a failure of justice. Let me say this again. It was a failure of justice, a kind of failure of justice that kills. Then, on August 22nd, the system's negligence collided with an innocent woman's trust in America. Ask yourself this: how many warnings does the system need before it acts? How many violent red flags must be waved before someone says enough? When George Floyd died, the world knew his name. When Daniel Penny restrained a man on a New York subway, Headlines erupted for weeks. Politicians marched. Reporters swarmed. Protesters filled the streets. But when Iryna Zarutska was butchered on a train, silence. Not the New York Times, not CNN, not NPR, not the Washington Post, not MSNBC. Her story did not fit their narrative. Was it because she was white? Because her killer was black? Because outrage didn't serve their agenda? This is not just bias. It is deliberate. It is coordinated. And it is cruel. A young woman's life was erased twice, once by a killer's knife and again by the media's silence. So let's ask the hard questions. Why was Decarlos Brown free despite his violent record? Shouldn't protecting the public outweigh political agendas and leniency? If Iryna had been a different color, would her death have filled headlines? Would marches have been organized? Speeches given? Laws proposed? Who decides which lives are remembered and which are forgotten? And how many others like Iryna will vanish into silence? Is this justice? Or is it proof that the system values ideology over human life? The death of Iryna Zarutska is not just the story on the murder, it is the story of failure. A failure of the courts to contain a violent man. A failure of prosecutors to keep him behind bars. A failure of the media to give her the dignity of memory. But it does not have to be the end of her story. We must learn. Violent repeat offenders are not misunderstood souls. They are threats. And threats must be contained. Justice is not just what happens after a crime. Real justice is preventing crimes like this before they happen. Every life counts. Every victim deserves to be remembered, not just the ones who fit into the headlines. Silence is complicity. When the media erases a story, it erases a life, and we cannot let that stand. Iryna fled war searching for safety. Instead, she found America's broken promises. She deserved better. She deserved safety. She deserved remembrance. Say her name. Remember Iryna Zarutska. Iryna Zarutska's death is more than a tragedy. It is a reflection of choices made by judges, by prosecutors, by a system that puts violent offenders back on the street. So let me ask you, do you feel safe knowing criminals with records like Decarlos Brown are released to walk among us? Do you think being soft on crime is ruining society? And if so, who really benefits? What do you think should be done to stop this from happening again? If you have an opinion, let us know what should be done in the comments below. You've been listening to What We Weren't Told. We are the curious. We don't settle for the media headlines. We walk into the shadows and expose what truly hides there. If this story opened your eyes, like, subscribe, and share. It motivates us to keep creating and to keep bringing you more of what we weren't told. Stay vigilant. Stay safe.